Well, hello everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to today's GNI live event where we're going to be talking about freelance tips and tools for all you freelancers out there. We're going to be getting creative, I'm sure, over the next few weeks and months. I know this is a bit of a weird time at the moment. People are doing lots of different jobs. They're working on lots of different projects. So today we're going to be speaking about some of the tools that you can use at home right away, whether that's on your desktop or on your mobile phone, whether you're out and about, maybe you've started a project or maybe you've got an idea in mind. But what our aim is today is to basically tell you guys loads of different tools so you can get inspired, you can get using. So, okay, let me just move on to the next slide. If you guys do have any comments, please do write them in the chat and we'll post some links in there as well. Okay, guys, so as I mentioned, today's session is all about freelance tools and tips. So actionable tools that you can take away and start using. Now, my name is Caroline Scott. I am the Google News Lab Teaching Fellow for the UK and Ireland. There are teaching fellows all around the world, and we work together within the Google News Lab to basically talk to journalists all around the world about the most amazing editorial tools that they can use within their newsrooms, either to find stories, to tell stories better, or maybe even to verify stories and information that they find online. So we're working with newsrooms every single day in order to educate as many people as we can about this amazing free technology that's out there to help you in your jobs. Okay, it's designed for you and we're there to help you in your work. Okay, so we're a team. We work together. We're there to help you. So do get in contact if you do have any questions or if you'd like us to come and do some training. Now, what you're watching here is the GNI live event. Now, we've got GNI live events in a variety of different languages all over the world. As I mentioned, our teaching fellows are everywhere. So this is the one obviously in English coming from the UK. So do keep in touch with us over the next few weeks. We've got lots of different sessions, lots of different ideas that we're going to be discussing. Now, last time we spoke about reporting about COVID. So COVID-19 resources, where to find information, how to verify and debunk information. Today, we're going to be talking about freelance tools and tips, and we've got a range of different topics that we're going to be speaking about over the next few weeks. So as I say, do head over to the links that are going to be in the chat today so you can get some more information. Now, for those of you that have never worked with the Google News Initiative or we've not trained you before, the Google News Initiative is Google's effort to build a stronger future for journalism. We really believe in quality journalism. We believe it matters, and we believe that collaboration is key to its success. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're the editorial arm of Google. Now, my role as a teaching fellow based here in the UK is based on the first of those three E's, okay, so to elevate and strengthen quality journalism. So to work like journalists with yourself in your day-to-day work and to help you wherever we can. Now, we do have the Google Journalist Studio online. You'll see the URL is on screen there. Basically, the Google Journalist Studio is a collection of tools that we believe that you can use in your day-to-day work to help you find, verify information and visualize information as best you can. So we teach all of these on our website, and you can head over there. This is our website here, g.co/news training, where you can get individual lessons on all of those tools, or you can head to the Journalist Studio and have direct access to all of those tools and information to use within your daily work. But today is the GNI Live. So we're going to be talking about some of the tips that you guys as freelancers, I know we've got a great amount of journalists that are tuning in today, whether you're watching this live or you're watching this pre-recorded, you're very welcome to comment in the post and let us know some of the tools that you use within your work. But for us, we're freelancers, you know, freelancers when we're working in podcasting or whether we're developing newsletters, we've always got to think outside the box, haven't we, of new and exciting ways to make our projects more engaging, to think outside the box and how we're going to tell our stories, how we're going to engage our audiences. And so what we're going to be talking about today is just that. We're going to be talking about launching podcasts, becoming our own publishers, and using newsletters to do so. So this is how we can help you today. So the first thing that us as freelancers do is we look for stories, don't we? We look for information to tell the public. We look for interesting angles. And, usually when we're freelancing, we cover a specific topic or specific subject area. So the first tool I'm going to be speaking about today is called Google Alerts. Now, Google Alerts is something you can set up within a matter of minutes, and it's going to shave so much time off your day-to-day workings in the newsroom. So Google Alerts is essentially our way of being able to tell you every time a piece of information or a document is published online of what you're looking for, okay? So Google Alerts looks a little bit like this. So you go into it there, the URL was on screen, and you can choose, okay, I'm going to write a story about, in this example, Bridlington, okay, the Yorkshire town of Bridlington here in the UK. Now, if I was writing a story about Bridlington, or I was a local reporter based in Bridlington, maybe I would create a search alert to tell my audience, right, every time something is published with that word in the title, I want to be notified of that. And I can tell Google to do this on a weekly basis, on a daily basis. So I can basically tell Google when and where I want the information coming into my email account. So I don't have to constantly be searching for information every single day. Okay, so Google Alerts is a really useful tool that you can get started with. You're basically telling Google, okay, this is the information I want to know. Can you deliver it to me in a nicely packaged email every time a piece of content is published? Now, you'll notice there I've put in title Bridlington. That's because I'm looking for all the information online with the title Bridlington in the title there. So that is called a search refinement, okay? Now, search refinements are designed to make your life much easier as you're on Google. So, for example, if you're using the Google search tab, it's very easy to just type in information you're looking for. Maybe that's COVID, maybe that's the vaccine, maybe that's the name of the next project you're working on or a person. But actually, to find the information as fast as we can use these things called search refinements to get to that information much quicker. And I've listed a few of them on the screen now. You can see there's 5 of them that you can start playing around with. So you'll see the top one there, that's a negative sign. You can see that on the right-hand side. So to use that minus sign after a certain word in our search, we'll remove that word from our results. So for example, if I wanted to find information about vaccines and I put in vaccine minus COVID, so for example, if we look in like 5 years, 10 years, 20 years into the future, maybe I wouldn't want to be reporting on COVID, but all of the search results come up, show a lot of COVID articles. I could put vaccine minus COVID, and that means all of my results won't have that word COVID in them, okay? So I can really kind of remove some of the search that I don't want to find. And, there's other search refinements too. If I move down this list, we can use the search refinement site. So if I'm looking for information from a particular website, as you can see here, COVID site.gov.uk, I can find all the information that's been published about COVID from the government website here in the UK. Also, I can search for related information. So you can see here I've put related bma.org.uk, which is the British Medical Association. Let's say I'm looking for other trade unions or professional bodies and of doctors and medical students around the UK. I can search related bma.org.uk and it will show me other sites that are similar to that. And moving down the list, we've got cache. So cache, bbc.co.uk. In this example here, if I'm looking for the last saved version of a website, let's say a website's crashed or it's gone down and I urgently need to get to a website, I can find the last saved version that Google has saved for me by using that search refinement. And at the bottom there, you'll see coronavirus file type XLS. So in this example here, I'm looking for a file type, which is a spreadsheet, an Excel spreadsheet, XLS file, and I can search there for that certain file type. So all of my results are only going to be what I ask it, okay? So that's really important. We're not going to be trudging through tons and tons of search results. We're just going to find the information that we need. Now, if, for example, you get to a computer where you don't have your search refinements written down or you're struggling to remember them a little bit, because sometimes that is a bit difficult, isn't it, to remember off the top of your head, There is a cheat sheet in the bottom right-hand corner when you go onto your Google search, and you can see here that when you tap into that by tapping the little settings cog icon, you can get a whole page for the Google Advanced Search, okay? So you can refine your search, as you can see, find pages with certain words, certain phrases, by language, by region. So you can really whittle your search down that way. So I would really recommend, if there's anything you gain from today, go and set yourself up a search alert and use search refinements to do so, because you're going to be able to find really specific information online that you can get coming to you on a daily, weekly basis. So you can really personalize it. And, as freelancers, if you are working on many different projects at the same time, that's going to help you get that information much faster and save you a lot of stress, which is what we want. Now, another source of what people are looking for can be found within Google Trends. Now, if you haven't used Google Trends, this is a fantastic tool from Google which tells you what people are searching for. So what audiences are actually interested in, what they're typing into the Google search bar and having a look up. And obviously this is a great source of inspiration for stories, but it can also help you angle any stories that you're working on. So let's say you're writing a story about the COVID vaccine. You might think, how do I write a story about the latest updates, the latest news about the vaccine in a more unique way? Well, you can go into Google Trends and you can search for what people are looking for and go and have a nosy about and see if you can angle a story in a different way. So if I show you here, you can see the daily search trends within Google Trends. You can see the searches that have jumped significantly in traffic over the past 24 hours. And these update hourly. So we can see what our audiences are actually interested in all the time. And also, if I move along here within Google Trends, you can see the real-time search trends. And these highlight searches that have jumped significantly in traffic among all of the recent searches. So we can really see real-time search updates, what people are searching for, and what are the most popular searches. Now, if I just jump into Google Trends, I can show you there. So it's trends.google.com, and you can see this is the inside of Google Trends. You've got a search bar at the top there, and we can search for a term or a topic. So something that you're reporting on, something that you're interested in, you can search in that search bar there, and it will tell you more information about what people are searching around that topic. Or you can head down the page and you can see what the Google Trends team have actually put together. So they've put some articles together showing you the year in search in 2020, some of the most important searches that are happening, some of the most popular searches that are happening here in the UK, for example. And you can change this by country. So those of you that are watching this live stream from another country, you can also change that as well. So you can see here we've got coronavirus search trends, and we can find information of the most recently trending and most up-to-date search. And if I head over to this bar on the left-hand side of the screen, there I can see, as I just mentioned, the trending searches. So you can see your daily and real-time trends. Okay, so you can see more information. So if you are working on a specific project, make sure that you go into Google Trends and see what audiences are talking about. It's really interesting, even if you're not working on a specific project, just to see what audiences are interested in. And that's going to help you when you're pitching stories and when you're working on specific projects. Okay, so thinking about the freelance format now. So we've talked a little bit about some tools there with Google Alert, the search refinements, Google Trends, of where we can get inspiration and get ideas for our stories. But now I'm going to talk about format, because let's face it, the world has changed. No longer we, writing, let's say, just newspapers, or we're not just on watching television news. We're also getting our news through social media, through live streams, through newsletters, through podcasts. And there's so many different ways that we can reach our audience and connect with them that sometimes, I believe, for freelancers, it can be a bit overwhelming. Even full-time reporters that are working within newsrooms, it can be overwhelming to keep on touch and on top of, that kind of what are we going to do next? How are we going to connect with our audiences? Are we using smart speakers? Are we going to do a podcast? Are we doing a newsletter? So just giving you guys some tools is what I'm going to be doing over the next 20 or so minutes that you can start using. If you are looking to do a podcast or you are looking to start a newsletter, there are various ways that you can go about it for free and actually get started with it today. So today, we're going to start by talking about podcasts. Some of you might already have a podcast idea in mind. Some of you might think, I don't know what to do a podcast on, but I know this is a really innovative format than how I want to connect to my audiences. So let's start off by thinking about podcasts. So if you go to the Google Podcast Creator Program, we have a range of free podcasting resources that you can get started with straight away. Now, I've put all of the bit.ly links and links on the screen here so you can see them. If you do fill out the form that we've posted in the chat, then you can get access to all of the hyperlinks that I've spoken about in the project. So you don't have to take pictures and stuff of the slides if you don't want to. But basically, the Google Podcast Creator Program is a range of different videos and resources that you can use, from thinking about an idea to thinking about equipment, to thinking about how to structure a podcast. All of these little things that make up a podcast, we've spoken about within the Google Creator Program. Now, it looks a little bit like this. You've got 10 exciting episodes. The presenters are really fun. The production is absolutely beautiful. So it's like watching a little bit of a TV show, but you're learning all about how to make podcasts, okay? So it's everything from tools and tips, pros and cons of recording, editing, and pacing, okay? So what you should and shouldn't do, okay? So make sure you go and check that out. As I say, I've put the bit.ly link on the screen there for you, so you can head over. So always start with this, because this is a great resource. You can watch it during your lunch break, watch one a day, watch one a week, depending on the pace you want to go. But if you are starting out with podcasts, or even if you're an experienced podcast, there's always more little tips and tricks to learn, okay? So head over there. It's your like one-stop shop base information, okay, for when you are starting a podcast. But for some of you, you might be watching this live stream and you're thinking, I don't know what to do a podcast about. Like, I don't know how to think of an idea that's fun and exciting and that's different from the rest, because there's so much information online, isn't there? There's so many different podcasts out now. There's the rise of podcasts has been ridiculous. And so there's podcasts about every single subject. So, when we're thinking of inspiration and thinking about podcasts, there's a few questions I would recommend asking yourself. And the first one is, what are you passionate about? Now, it might seem obvious, but don't make a podcast about something that you are not really passionate about, because your tone of voice, how you speak, how, the audience is going to be listening to you is going to play a huge role in that. So think about, what are you really interested in, and what can you make a fantastic topic about? And next, think about what your audience wants to know. So, you might be passionate about a certain topic, but if your audience isn't really passionate about that, is it really worth making a podcast on? But I tell you what, for every single topic in the world, you could be writing about, a small little cartoon show that you used to watch when you were a kid. You could be watching about a specific element of, let's say, a specific element of the news, or a story in the news that you think is so interesting that you want to dive into deeper. There will be other people that share the same opinion as you. So you might have a very niche audience, but that's okay, because you're engaging them. You're talking to an audience that really wants to hear what you've got to say. So think about what your audience wants to know. Think about what you're passionate about. And if you can link those two things together, that will really help you. And next, think about your podcasting goals. So, when you've got your idea, think, okay, what do I want to achieve with this podcast? Am I doing this to build more subscribers for something else? Am I doing this to build a brand following? Am I doing this basically to build a community? Am I doing this for monetization reasons? Really think about your goals, because this will help you to structure all of your different episodes. And next, think what other podcasts that you like yourself. And then you can go back for inspiration and think, well, I really liked the way, that presenter did this. I really like the storytelling arc of this podcast. I really like the guests that were interviewed in this other podcast. And you can pick and choose certain formats, certain techniques, certain production elements that you really like, and this will help inspire you for your own podcast, okay? So it's not copying, it's just looking at the range of different formats that are out there and thinking, okay, what can be done? Because if you don't listen to podcasts, it's very, very difficult for yourself to get better at them or to create one from the start. And some of the other questions that I would recommend is, what sets you apart from the rest, and who would you like to speak to in an interview? Okay, so if you know what sets you apart from the rest, what's different about you, what's different about your skill set and your knowledge, that's really, really going to help you when making a podcast. Because as I say, there's other people there that want the information that you've got in your head. Other people want to understand and listen to that. And finally, who do you want to interview? Okay, who do you want to speak to? Write a list of fantastic guests that you could speak to. Don't limit yourself. Write them all down, no matter how crazy it sounds. Get everything out on a piece of paper and just design your dream podcast, because that will really help to design the elements and to get your brain thinking, get the cogs going as to how you can actually design it yourself. So once you have an idea, and as I say, you'll get a lot of ideas from listening to other people's stuff, listening to what can be done. Once you've actually done this yourself, it's really, really important that you think, okay, how am I going to record this? Because audio quality is so, so important. I cannot, count the amount of times that I've turned on a podcast and I will turn it off. No matter how good the speaker is, no matter how good the quality of the content is, if the audio quality is naff and I'm listening to it walking down the street, remember, think where your audience are going to be. Are they going to be on a tube? Are they going to be on a bus walking down the street with, are they going to be washing up? What are they going to be doing? Because you need to have really good audio quality, and that will come from the microphones you use and the software that you use to put your podcast together. And there are a range of microphones out there. There's a range of editing tools you can use on your desktop and your smartphones, for example. You can do this on computers or you can do it on the go. It just depends on your own workflow. Some microphones are small little lapel microphones that you can get online for really, really cheap. You can plug them. You can just plug them into your phone or your computer, and you can put them onto your body and you can start speaking. Others require a USB connection to your phone or to your computer, for example. And some of them are wireless, so you can connect them, via Bluetooth, for example. So there are such a range of microphones out there. I would say if you're just starting off, make sure you've got a lovely quiet space. Make sure you do your research into microphones and invest in a good quality one. And make sure that you're not somewhere where the phone's going to go off or the dog's going to bark or the traffic's going to go past. Make sure you're recording it in the best quality you can. Now, actually capturing that audio is another question, isn't it? So we might have our idea, we have our microphone, but also how are we going to capture that? So what software are we going to use to actually capture that? Now, like with the microphones, there are a range. Okay, so there's loads of different things that you can be thinking about. So if you are going to be doing a lot of interviews, let's say on Zoom or on another platform, let's say, for example, Google Meet, you might be recording that audio directly to your computer, which is fine. You can also do that. Or you might use a tool like Anchor to record directly on a podcast hosting site. Or you can, of course, record directly into your mobile phone and edit it on there. So there really are kind of beginner and advanced tools, or you might be even using multi-track editing software on your desktop computer, okay? So there are such a range out there. It's definitely worth having a look into. Go and watch a few YouTube videos, product videos where people are talking about what they've just bought. You'll find it really useful. Now, one of the ones I'm going to talk to you today is about Zencaster. So Zencaster is pretty simple to use. You essentially invite your guest to a recording. So let's say you were going to do a recording of somebody who's, it's COVID time, so you're socially distanced, so you can't interview somebody in person, which would be the best thing to do. The second best thing to do would be to record it remotely. So if you've got somebody at home that's in another household, you invite them via Zencaster. They join the conversation, and you can record either audio or audio and video at the same time if you've got a YouTube channel, for example. And you can get free versions in MP3 format, or you can upgrade to get WAV files of a higher quality. So it's completely up to you. But it might be a fantastic tool for you guys just to kick off and start with as you get going on your podcasting journeys. Now, some other tools that I think you'll find really useful. The first one is Words to Time. Words to Time is super simple. It's you go on the website. I've put the URL link at the top of the page there. So you go on your Words to Time page and you can see how long it's going to take you to read a speech or a presentation. So if you do have a podcast script, if you're not doing it off the cuff or off bullet points, if you do have a script and you want to see how long that's going to take you, Words to Time is really good because it can show you how long it will take you to actually read something from start to finish. So it's just a good tool to have in your back pocket if you would like to get some kind of idea about how long words take to put into audio. Now, there are loads of libraries of sound effects online that you can get started with. I get a lot of questions of people saying, where do I get royalty-free music, royalty-free video? Where do I get content, maybe for jingles or for beds for your podcast, even for theme tunes, for example? I've put a few on the screen here. If you want more, you can fill out the feedback form, the links in the chat, and you'll get a list of loads of other ones that you can use. So you'll see here on the screen, we've got Free Sound, the BBC sound effects website. You've also got the audio library. It's always worth checking some of the copyright on any tracks that you use. Sometimes you can use tracks for free, but you have to, give a hat tip to whoever has designed it or published it. So make sure that you always know, the copyright rules before you actually use anything in a podcast or radio show, for example. But that is a lot of information out there and lots of different audio tracks that you can get started with. Okay, so don't feel like you have to go and make everything from scratch. A lot of things are already online. And similarly, if you are doing a podcast and you've also got an Instagram page or a Facebook page, or even, let's say, a YouTube account where you will be doing an accompanying video series, for example, you might want to visualize your audio. Now, visualizing audio is a tricky one, isn't it? Because, you've made a brilliant podcast, but what do you actually put for people to see? Because platforms like YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, they're all visual mediums. Of course, sound does play a massive element in that, but how are we going to visualize them? Well, we have some tools here which are examples of templates that you can use. So we've got Headliner, Wizabel, Wave, and they're all really useful for basically dragging and dropping your audio in, adding some pictures. Maybe that's a behind the scenes picture of you creating it. Maybe you've got some graphics designed for your podcast, where you basically can put these into lots of different templates for different social media platforms, vertical, square, landscape, for example, 4x5. You can play around with these with different waveform templates. And you can basically post these direct to social media. There's free versions, paid up versions, but there's definitely lots of free options that you can get started with. So don't let that put you off, because there's so much out there that you can do. So definitely recommend going and having a look at these 3 different tools that you can find on your desktop. Okay, so the next tool we're going to be speaking about is Google Podcast Manager. So Google Podcast Manager gives you an idea about the analytics for your audio. So once you've published your podcast and you want to know, okay, who's listening to it, who's stopped listening to it, when people stop listening to it, you can go onto the Google Podcast Manager and basically get a deep dive into the audio itself. So you go into each episode, when listeners are tuning in, when they're dropping off. This is what it looks like inside, and you can see, you can understand new listening habits, see how your audience listens across various devices like smart speakers, smartphones, desktops, for example. Understand how your content is discovered in Google search. So if you need to start thinking about ways to get more eyeballs, but more ears on your content. And also it helps you to reach more listeners across Google. So you can claim your podcast and ensure it's available to millions of different listeners. So Google search, Google Assistant, for example, Google Podcast app, and more. So getting your audio to more people. And you can see that here within, this, we've got a website here which enables you to follow certain steps using the Google Podcast Manager to get Google to show your podcast in a variety of places. So Google search, Podcasts, smart speakers, the Google Assistant, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. So lots of different places where you can exactly push it out. So once you've made your beautiful podcast, you're going to make sure loads of people are listening to it and getting your podcast heard. Okay, make sure you head over to that guide on the Google Podcast Manager to make sure that more people are being able to access it, essentially. Okay, now if you want to grow a membership revenue with podcasts, you can do so on various platforms. So you can see here, I've got 2 up on the screen. You can use this by, for example, if you've got a podcast and think, how am I going to make money from it? Because how are people going to pay for it if they can't put it out there? But you can use these platforms to share exclusive content with a community. You can offer paying subscribers maybe a preview of an episode before it's released to the masses. You can share episodes that are external that other people don't get. So it really is a fantastic way of basically monetizing podcasts if you're going to use external tools like this. So you can grow a membership, grow a community if you want to with podcasts. It's not just a place to just go and dump other content. Okay, it really can be an amazing art form in itself. So really taking podcasts seriously. If you guys have using any fantastic podcasting tools that you would like for us to share, please do write them in the chat as well, so we'll be able to push those out. Now, moving on to newsletters, newsletters, they're nothing new. You guys have probably signed up to 5 or 6 newsletters, coming into your inbox every day, every week, giving you updates on a specific topic or a specific subject. These have become very popular over the last few years, especially thinking about subscriber models of the newsletter. Now, there's celebration and criticism of the subscriber newsletter model. I've put some pictures on the screen of articles that have been written that really give you a good insight into this. They offer really interesting, takes on this. You can see there it's by the New Yorker and craigmod.com, who also has a range of very popular newsletters. So you can go and read about, if you are thinking about starting a newsletter, pros, cons, whether you should, whether you shouldn't, what kind of model to use. There's some really interesting insights there. Now, if you are starting and you don't know exactly what platform to use, one of the ones we're talking about today is Substack. So Substack enables you to publish your newsletter for free, and you can also enter a paid model as well. Now, when you are in Substack, it looks like this. You can see what's popular. So this really helps you because you can see what audiences are actually wanting to read about. So if you go to Substack, start an account, you can see that there's a leaderboard. So you can see here in this example, you can see what niches are being covered, what performs well on the platform, and you can use their tools to track engagement as well, and see what your readers really love. So you can see what to write about more. So it really helps you not just in the publishing side, but also what audiences are interested to find out. And I've just put a few examples of some of the newsletters that do well over here in the UK. There's some really, really quirky topics on there, from writing to talking about homeschooling, as you can see on screen, to talking about literally any topic you can think of. You can start a newsletter, and of course, you can monetize it as you move forward. Now, as opposed to Substack, there's another site called Review. It was recently acquired by Twitter. So if you're in Twitter and you go to where you go to log out, if you go down, you can see there's a section on the newsletter on Review. It was acquired by Twitter. It's a really big player in the newsletter sphere. So you can use Review to start your newsletter. You can also monetize it as well. Now, there is a free version. However, if you build paid subscribers there, it does take a percentage. Substack takes 10%, Review takes 5%. Okay, so you can build a little community there where you can start to monetize it as time goes on. I know a lot of newsletter writers, they will write a newsletter but publish an extended version for maybe their paid community, for example, or they might have additional links and extra resources that their paid community can tap into. Now, Google has always been at the forefront of email, hasn't it? It's there. It's one of the biggest email providers. However, I would like to talk to you today about AMP for email. So AMP. Okay, so some of you might have come across this before. It's a new technology that enables you to create really interactive emails. And this is really cool because you don't need a website to do this. Okay, so you can make your websites your emails really dynamic and interactive, just as a website would be, apart from it's in somebody's email feed. So if you are going to be emailing people lots of different emails every single week, you are creating newsletters, you do want to get that audience interaction, you can do so by using AMP. So if you haven't seen this before, basically it's very techy in terms of coding. So if you haven't played around with coding before, it is a little bit of an advanced product. But for those of you that have played around with code-based tools before in the past, it's a really good one to experiment with, because you can integrate like carousels, dynamic features, interactive elements within your emails as well. So it basically means that the person who is receiving your newsletter or your email is going to basically get something that's so interactive that they don't need to click out onto a website. Okay, so if you want to experiment with this, there is a full sandbox there. I've put the URL on the screen, and we'd love for you guys to experiment with it. You can see there it's supported with Gmail, Mail.ru, and Yahoo Mail at the moment. You can see I've put the logos at the top of the screen. So we want you guys to experiment with some of the tools that we've spoken about this lunchtime. We want you to go away and we want you to practice. Think of some ideas for podcasting. Think of the tools you're going to use. Think of how you're going to display it on social media using some of those tools that we've spoken about. Think about, okay, how are we going to get more audiences to listen to it, okay, by using the Google Podcast Manager? How are we going to make our newsletters more exciting to our audiences? So making sure we go on Review, Substack, do your research, go on YouTube. There are a lot of people speaking about all of these tools that we've spoken about today. And here at Google News Lab and within Google News Initiative, you can go over to our website, which is g.co/news training. There, guys, you will find free courses that you can use on a variety of different tools. Today, we've just touched the surface. You know, this is a whistle-stop tour of some of the tools for podcasting, but there you'll find amazing tools for data visualization, for story verification, for, let's say, for example, for using Google search, for using the search refinements. So everything that you kind of want to know in terms of like search information, verifying information, and visualizing information, we have tools that can help you in your work, okay? And we also offer free live training for newsrooms across the world. So if you are working for a newsroom, we can come in there and do some bespoke training for you. So make sure you do go and check it out. Okay, so over here at the Google News Lab, you can see here, if you do have any questions on tools that we've spoken about today, or that you would like to find more information on, you can head over to our email address, newslabsupport@google.com. Now, if you want to contact me, I've put my Twitter account in the chat there. It's @cscottvideo, and I can sort you out and organize some training for you guys that we can come into your newsrooms and do. Okay, so I hope today's been really useful for you. If you fill out our feedback form, and the link should be in the chat there at the beginning, you'll be able to find a lot more information. I will email it to those of you that have registered. And so you'll get a list, a document with all the URLs from today's session. So I would hope to see you guys at the next GNI live event. The next GNI live event from me from the UK is going to be in 2 weeks' time. So make sure that you sign up for that. And yes, all of the information from today from that document will be accessible during when you've done the Google form. So I will send that to you guys, and the link is also in the chat now. So do check it out. Message me if you have any queries about GNI Live. You can always send us an email and send us information, and we will see you at the next event. Thank you very much, guys.